Dear chess friends, the FIDE World Chess Championship match in 2024 is really heating up. We're now already in the round 9 of this amazing chess event, of this amazing battle between Ding Liren and Gukesh Dommaraju. So only 5 rounds we'll see in this really beautiful, spectacular match. And I think when we watch now so far the first 8 rounds, and we know that it's an equal result so far, I think it's a deserved result because no one really dominated over his opponent. So I would say so far really a fair result. Ding had one great game, of course Gukesh had one great game, but also many missed opportunities by both sides. So I would really say so far a fair result. So let's see now what happened in the round 9. Today Gukesh spiced up the opening. He tried out the Catalan. I think it's a brave decision to play the Catalan because the Catalan can be really sharp battle all over the board. So let's see now what happened in the epic 9th round of the FIDE World Chess Championship match in 2024. So with white, Gukesh opened with the move d4, knight to f6 by Ding, c4, and after move e6 we have now g3, the Catalan opening. But the game after a couple more moves will transpose into the ideas of the bogo-indian defense, the so-called retreat variation. But actually you can get many of this position from different openings. You can get this position after a couple more moves that I'll show you. You can get it also out of the Queen's Indian defense, out of this Catalan setup. So basically we're reaching this retreat variation after bishop to b4 and bishop to d2 and now bishop to e7. This idea seems a little bit strange. Maybe that you play with the bishop, you deliver a check, and then with white covers that you retreat. But now, first of all, what this sequence is doing is, first of all, that the queen is now not connected anymore to the pawn on d4, and now white has a tough time to make further progress with knight to c3, e4. What white is trying to do is somehow to break and enter with the move e4. So white is trying to get 3 pawns in the center of the board and then let them roll here in the center. So here after bishop to g2, here d5 immediately by Ding, competing now for the e4 square. Knight to f3 by Gukesh, calcing, and now c6, which is now the standard idea how to play against the Catalan opening. I myself play also this defense with the black pieces against the Catalan, then with the idea to play b6, and then I like also to go with bishop to a6 to put more pressure against this one, knight from b to d7, rook to c8 and similar stuff. So but my basic concept as defensive strategy against this setup is to play b6 and then bishop to a6. So we have queen to c2, now comes knight from b to d2, and you see after queen to c2 the bishop on d2 is taking now a natural score for the knight. So white will have to play now setup knight to d2 and then e4. That's the concept that we have discussed. So white is trying to get these 3 connected pawns in the center of the board, but so far it's not possible because this check that we delivered in the beginning with bishop to b4 forced white to play bishop to d2, and now the piece is standing in the way of the development of the knight. So we have now knight from b to d7, rook to d1. Here Gukesh puts, of course, the rook where already the queen is. If something clears in the center of the board, then the queen could be in danger. Now comes this idea, b6, and now I liked here really Gukesh choice bishop to c3. In my home preparation also, when I faced this setup, when I play with the white pieces, the same position, and I've covered also beautiful games played by the top engine Stockfish, in which Stockfish also plays very often this bishop to c3 concept. Now I think it makes perfect sense because now you're clearing this score for the knight, and then you want to play it again the move e4, which I think this bishop to c3 has become now more and more popular in chess history. I think it was not maybe such a popular idea. Now for instance, in a beautiful game played by Anish Giri against Hans Moke Niemann, this line has been played where actually black was better, so Hans Niemann really destroyed Anish Giri in this setup with the idea to play then knight to e4, and then you can retreat with bishop to e1, but now again the knight is competing here against the knight, and now after a couple more moves black could go also into stonewall structures with the move f5. So now suddenly black has also beautiful space advantage with the knight. So I think really a playable line. So let's see now also different options what after bishop to c3 black can do. A common mistake, maybe what black is doing now, is to play the move d takes c4. This is not good. It seems so that maybe the queen is not connected anymore to the c4 pawn, so you can maybe take it now, but then with knight to e5 it becomes really an unpleasant game for black. This one is attacked, you're trying maybe to trade it off, then look at this, bishop to c6, knight to a3, knight to c4 is going to happen. So it's simply not working. For instance, if you try here, I don't know, after knight to e5 to cement this position, then simple knight to c6, and then of course also e4 in some lines is working. So this is not good continuation. As I said, after bishop to c3, I myself like this approach with bishop to a6. I like to simply put more pressure against this pawn, and then after something like b3, now again with this idea that we have discussed also, played by Hans Niemann with the black pieces against Anish Giri. It's not the same position, but again with a different move order, but now with knight to e4, and then after something like bishop to e1, we can, I think, now again go into the stonewall stuff with f5, and I would say very a solid position now for black. So okay, Ding has probably something else prepared. He tries this line, bishop to b7, which is also great. I like both lines because this bishop to a6 maybe approach is more aggressive. This bishop to b7 approach is more position. I would say it's a waiting move where Ding is basically waiting now here Gukesh to play knight to d2, then e4, and now this bishop is competing already for the square. So it's a different concept. By I think both ideas are perfectly fine. So we have now knight from b to d2, finally by Gukesh. We have queen to c7, and now after rook from a to c1, now comes rook from f to d8 by Ding, and now in move 12 we have a theoretical nullity of this opening. So nothing spectacular, I would say. The position is equal. Rook from f to d8, also rook from a to c8 is possible. So it's not like that you can make mistakes now immediately. First of all, you bring your pieces on the natural files. The d and c file, of course, have to be occupied. So that's why rook from a to c8 or rook from f to d8, I think, are both perfectly fine moves. But now here Gukesh starts to play really aggressively. So Gukesh can play here the move e4, which is perfectly fine. Then after knight to e4, knight takes e4, d takes e4, and queen to e4, we can attack here the queen with knight to f6. Bishop to f6 is also a possibility. So although maybe white has a better space now, better space advantage, still black can defend this position also with later c5 ideas and similar stuff. So c5 can be played immediately. Any of these lines, I think, again, is simply working here for black. But that's why Gukesh probably knows that after move e4, the game could be a little bit more simplified for black. He tried now a different attacking idea. He tried now the move b4, which is, in my opinion, a really nice plan. Trying to put more pressure here because white has now a slightly advantage. We have to mention it on the c file because white built already rook and queen battery, and if something clears again on the c file, then the queen on c7 could be in danger. But now Ding shows that he's also well prepared in this line. He plays now a very nice counterattack with move c5, and that's, I would say, the best move here. It's not like also, I don't know, that any other move is such a big deal here for black, but c5 is really showing that Ding calculating now this middle game in a great way, because now I think when we have this pawn collisions, many opportunities are there, many also opportunities to make a mistake for both sides. Let's see now options. For instance, if white continues with c takes d5, which makes, of course, in the beginning perfect sense because you're clearing the c file. As we mentioned, you have the advantage on the c file. Then knight to d5 attacks now this bishop on c3, and e4 concepts are simply not working here. It seems like a logical idea that you play e4. Of course, black cannot play like this because of bishop to b4. You cannot take because of this tension on the c file, but now you can play a beautiful counter attack with c takes d4. So you can now attack the bishop. Maybe white can take, you take also, maybe also d takes e6 can happen, but then after f takes e6 you pick up this one, and the issue is that also the pawn on b4 is hanging, and now in this open battle with the bishop pair with an extra pawn, black should be winning. So this is not working. So that's why I think here after move c5 again, Gukesh also plays the correct choice. B takes c5. We have b takes c5, and now queen to b2. I would say now a pretty equalish game. Gukesh is now also trying maybe to clear this diagonal. He's searching maybe for an opportunity to hit the g7 pawn, or maybe also to build now a new battery on the b file where the bishop on b7 could be a little bit in danger. Now again, great move here by Ding. He locks simply. the attacking chances of whites here on the b file, but connects further the knight to the d5 square, because the position could be really, really broken now in the center. Maybe Gukesh could search for a clarification by trading off more pawns in the center of the board, so that's why bringing a new sort of piece that could fix the position is also perfectly fine. And now the b file attack by white is not so dangerous. So bishop to a5. Nice, again, attacking flow by Gukesh. Although in any of these lines, the engine will show you here that's 0.0 evaluation. I really loved here Gukesh at least ambitions to attack the position somehow, to create somehow some kind of madness. And after d takes c4, the Ding played, here we have knight takes c4, and now comes, I would say, maybe here the first tiny little critical moment of this game. So there is, again, in any of these lines, I would not say that anyone is losing or something, but there are maybe slightly better choices, maybe slightly worse choices. And I think now suddenly Ding played a slightly worse choice in his tactical calculation. Here he played bishop to f3, which was really risky. You're giving up your powerful bishop for your opponent's knight in an open battle, and now after bishop to f3, the bishop will become simply the best minor piece on the board. But in order to somehow keep yourself really in an equal game, you have to find really just a disgusting, really tactical sequence that only I think can Stockfish can calculate. You have to play a wild knight to c4, and now after something like bishop to c7, actually black is winning. But of course, white doesn't have to pick up the queen immediately. White can play something else. But now for bishop to c7, look at this. Knight to b2, bishop to d8, you pick up this one. You try to attack the knight. We pick up here this one. And now after a couple more moves, here black should be better. Still, it's a tough battle, but two minor pieces against the rook should be better here. So it's a line that maybe here Ding Liren missed. But of course, after knight to c4, as we mentioned, white doesn't have to play the game like this. Will eventually pick up the knight on c4 here. Then after queen to a5, you pick up also this one. And now after something like queen to a2, it gets very complicated. Look at this. Then you play queen to e7, allow here even this rook to be taken, but now you go here. Black has to maybe play some kind of a counter attack. You pick up this one. Now you step back. This rook is hanging. The pawn on e6 is weak, and now in one moment I think you have to even give up here the rook again for the minor piece. You can also try here rook from a to e8, but it's really just a complicated game now to play for both sides. Knight to f7, king to g8, and now knight to h6 leads now maybe into this line. Maybe you think you can do it like this, but of course the knight is still there. So this line would lead then, I think, into a perpetual draw. So it's, I think, something that Ding maybe should have considered. I'm not sure if he saw this line, but it was very interesting. So knight takes c4 was the better continuation here for black. But now for bishop to f3, Gukesh plays bishop to b6 here. I would say white is finally slightly better. In any of these lines, it was just an equal battle. A takes b6, and now bishop to f3. We have now rook to a6, and now Gukesh allows here Ding Liren to get somehow again into an equal game. Again, I would say any line, it's really not such a big deal because the players are so well prepared that they will squeeze, I think, in any of these positions, draw somehow. But here, in order to keep some kind of an attacking chance, Gukesh should have played here knight to e5. Knight to e5 keeps you some kind of an attacking flow because now you get use of the c file attack that we have discussed earlier. And after something like bishop to d6, you have this resource, knight to c6, an attack against the piece, and then maybe you can clear some files. You can also go with the central breakthrough with e4, e5, and similar stuff. So at least you're doing something. So here, even if you try bishop to f8, then king to g2, you improve. Then you can go with h4, h6, e3, and I think again white is at least something. White is somehow trying to spice up the game, at least in the middle game stage. So the computer evaluation is about 0.5 in white's favor, which is, I think, in this game, which was 0.0 from the beginning till the end, really a big deal to have at least some kind of a tiny edge here. But after queen to b5 here that Gukesh played instead of knight to e5, again we're reaching a pretty equal position, which rook takes a2 has been played. Now Gukesh also grabs a pawn, and now Ding goes here, and now queen to b1. Here Ding is trying to pin the piece, but now bishop d takes c5, which is again a tiny little trick here that Gukesh performed, because many of us would try bishop to c5 and then after rook to c5. Okay, it seems so you can get the piece back, but actually this not working because you have the back rank problems and the game would be over, of course, here for black. So that's why for d takes c5, the correct move here now by Ding. He will try now to take the knight on b6, but in a different way with this rook, and this rook stays, of course, on the 8th rank. So we have now queen to b5, bishop to c5. Now comes this idea, and after a couple more moves, we have reached now this position. This is really equal position now for both sides. Rook to c6. Here we have further trades of pieces. g5, good move, I would say, here by Ding, at least keeping your pawns on dark squares as much as you can, because then they cannot, of course, be attacked by the light square bishop. King to g2, rook to b2. We have king to f1, king to g7, h3, h5, rook to a1. So in any of these lines, again, it's a really equal position. I think you can lose just this game by a huge blunder, not by anything else. But the players had enough time still here without further complications. Here, rook to c2. Gukesh steps back, bishop to d3, fixes now the piece. Knight to d7 here. At least Ding is trying somehow to put more pressure against this bishop. Ding goes with Gukesh goes with f4, g takes f4, g takes f4, rook to c3, king to f2. Now comes this idea, attack against the bishop, and here Gukesh goes closer with the king, which was, I think, a good choice. We have now knight takes d3, e takes d3, rook to c2. Ding is trying to go behind the pawns, but now again a good move here by Gukesh. King to f3, rook to d2, and now rook to a3 keeps everything glued together, everything compact, so nothing can happen. King to g6. Here we have a couple of moves, and now rook to a5. First a check here. Ding covers. Now here simply f takes e5, and now of course the Ding takes, but he takes another pawn. The issue is that in this tactical sequence we have now this this pass pawn on the edge of the board, and this pawn can never be really promoted. It's not even a position that bothers anyone here. So after a couple more moves here, also the most important thing here to say is that this rook is not allowing this king to come closer, of course, to white side of the board. So now h4, of course, here Gukesh goes closer, and now after a couple more moves, Ding went for trades of rooks, and now after king to h3, king to f6, and king takes h4, it was, of course, a beautiful draw without any pieces anymore on the board. So fair draw again. Not really a great game, but with big chances for anyone. I think it was a solid draw. If you watch now this computer evaluations through the game, the evaluation was about 0.0 almost till the end of the game, without inaccuracies, mistakes, or blunders both players played. So you see how well prepared they are. They're playing really like machines. Maybe a tiny little, I don't know, advantage was the knight to e5 move, but I think Ding would squeeze also in that line a draw. So nothing spectacular happened today. Again, we had a draw in the FIDE World Chess Championship match in 2024. So okay, tomorrow is a rest day. Probably we'll cover a beautiful Judith Polgar game as promised, as we have done now always in the rest days, and we'll see also or some further beautiful games in this top event, and I'll try to of course cover also our beautiful AI games, maybe another video today, and what to do now if you want to see some other games that we have covered here on my YouTube chess channel. Check out our links here of some amazing games between Ding Liren and Gukesh, and if you like this content, hit the subscribe button. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.